Thank you. Could you believe it in the introduction that 14% of every work week is wasted due to unclear communication? 14%. Think about it. If we got it together, we'd have 7 weeks more vacation. Don't you think? Yeah. You know, I'm thinking of one time when I wasted a time due to unclear communication. My first job out of college was teaching 9th grade English. I did that for 6 months. I actually loved the kids. And one morning I woke up late. I overslept. And I jumped out and I called the principal and I jumped in my car and went racing down the freeway. I think racing is the right word. Rushed into my first period class, and there sat 30 ninth graders with their hands folded on the table. Now, I don't know if you remember 9th grade. This doesn't ever happen. And I'm sure that's why what happened. I just started rattling. I just, when they were going to do this. And slowly I saw a hand come up. It was Jeff Jensen. He said, "Ms. McLaughlin, you haven't made any sense since you walked into the room." And he said, "Besides that, you have a sleep scar running all the way down your face." You can count on 9th graders to bust you. So I said study period, and they studied. Well, think about it. I wasted a little bit of time there, huh? Have any of you ever wasted any time in your communication? Yeah. What I'd like you to do is think about one situation in particular when you kind of didn't feel you got the results you would have liked to have gotten. I can see some faces change already. Yeah. Could have been with a customer, a client, family member, friend. Maybe you out as a customer. So sometime when you really didn't get the results that you wanted. And I want you to think about that situation as we explore the 4 essential factors in communication. First one of those factors is intent. That's your purpose. What do I want to get out of this conversation? Second factor is criteria. Have you noticed that everyone you talk to has different criteria than you do? Some people want things really quickly. Other people want things perfect. Yeah, lots of different criteria. So intent, criteria. The third factor in communication is content. This is basically what we end up talking about. Now, if we haven't made our intent clear, and we haven't shared our criteria, the content is going to become the battleground. This is where the arguments can start. Fourth factor in communication, the process. That's how we communicate, how we look, how we sound, the words that we choose. So let's explore those 4 factors in communication. Keep your situation in mind, and let's think about the first one, intent. You know what's funny about communication is most of the time we don't think about our intent. We're like a pinball machine, you know, and we're just that little steel ball, and we're just kind of ricocheting off one peg and then another, and we just kind of ricochet down and kind of hope something will happen. Communication really is more like archery. What we need to do is stop, look at the target, pull our bow back, and let it go so it hits the mark. That's intent. That's intent. I am always reminded of intent when I think about my friend Roger. He's a gentleman that I love to go on walks with and sort of discuss problems with because he's just a real good brainstormer and he's real good at coming up with solutions. So we were walking around Green Lake one day, and I said to Roger, I said, "God, I just had the darndest problem the other day. I mean, it was just," and he stopped me and he said, now wait a minute here. What is it you want? Do you want empathy? Or do you want a solution? Nobody ever asked me that question before. I go, let's see, empathy, solution. Empathy, solution. Well, you can kind of guess what I went with. I said, I want empathy. So the walk looked completely different than it would otherwise. We're walking along, and I'm going, damn, this person did this, and Roger's going, shoot, darn, really? Really? Did they do that? Yeah. And then what did they do? Are you kidding? Well, that's terrible. And this is the way, I mean, people watching us must have been laughing. Now, if I had said solution, Roger would have been going around, well, you should have done this, and did you do that? And this is what it would have worked, and there would have been a phone call waiting for me when I got home, telling me exactly how I could solve the problem. That's the kind of guy he is. Do I want solutions? Do I want empathy? What's your intent? We need to let the other person know. When you combine my years as a television actor and a business owner, a professional seminar leader, with a few years of teaching high school, you get high content that's also entertaining. I want to share a story with you about one of my dearest friends who thought very carefully about the criteria, the content, and the process. He was real clear about his intent, believe me. This gentleman married my dearest friend, a woman I've known since kindergarten, and when we met, it was oil and water. Lenny and I were not fond of one another. And today, he would tell you I'm one of his dearest friends, and I tell you he's one of my dearest friends. Well, Lenny and Diane had been trying to get me to wear a bicycle helmet for years and years. And I said, oh no, I don't want to wear one. It musks my hair. You know that argument? It squishes your hair. They'd gone so far as to give me one for Christmas. You know what I did? I took it back for a bike rack. You know, sometimes we're our best friends, most difficult people, aren't we? So I had a bike rack, but I didn't have a bicycle helmet. Now, my friend Lenny is a retired policeman, and at this time, he was still on the force. And he was called one day by the captain, and he said, Lenny, I need you to rush down here with your camera. We have a young woman dead on the pavement. She has no ID. We need to contact her family, so we need to take a picture and circulate it around. Now, Lenny rushed down there in a panic because his wife Diane and I and several other women friends were going on a bike ride the very next day. And he had visions of me out there trying to get in shape for the bike ride the next day, you know. So he's going down. Obviously, it wasn't me. It wasn't any of our friends. Nonetheless, it was a young woman dead on the pavement because she had not been wearing her bicycle helmet. Yeah. And Lenny came home from this obviously harrowing experience. And he said to his wife, Diane, he said, Jan is not going on that bike ride tomorrow unless she wears a helmet, and that's it. Diane says all she did was kind of step back and say, do you think that's how to get Jan to wear a bicycle helmet? Now, I arrived the next day. I'm oblivious to all of this. I didn't know any of this had gone on. I took my bike off my brand new bike rack, rolled it up the driveway, and out came Lenny from his shop. Like, hi, come. He didn't say a word to me. Just kept walking toward me. He was swinging a bicycle helmet. And he walked up to me and he said, Jan, I want you to wear this today because I love you and I don't want anything to happen to you. And he put it on my head and he tucked my bangs under and fastened the strap. You think I wore that helmet? I figured out how to sleep in a bicycle helmet. Now think about it. What Lenny wanted to do was walk up to me and say, you're not going on that ride unless you wear a helmet. Now, do you think that process and that content would have gotten the results he wanted? No way. So instead, this man did an extraordinary thing. He was real clear about his intent. And what he did for a good part of the night was think about how he was going to communicate it to me. Think about my criteria, in other words, what would motivate me, because they'd already talked about all the other scary things and it hadn't worked. So think about your situation. Were you clear about your intent before you started talking to this other person? Did you share your criteria with them? Did they know what moved you and what was a factor for you? Did you think carefully about your content and what you actually said to them? And were you thinking about how you looked and how you sounded when you said it?
Whether I'm opening your event or closing it, whether you have me leading a concurrent session or facilitating, I guarantee you people will get involved. I remember the first time I headed to England, Scotland, and Ireland to do a series of programs. I was told the Scots would be very dour. Well, from electrical engineers to accountants to Scots. I can draw people out and get them interacting. Evaluation after evaluation, audiences say they can tell I care, that I care about them and about what I want them to take away from our time together. Let's work together to create an event that will show your audiences you care. Let's create an event they'll never forget. I'm eager to work with you.